Imagine you have the money, all of it, sitting in the bank, ready to wire the moment someone says yes. You walk into a Ferrari dealership and ask for one of their most coveted limited edition models. And the answer isn't, "Let me check inventory." It's a question back at you. What else have you bought from us first? In 2026, reports began surfacing from inside Ferrari's tightest collector circles describing something even stranger. To improve your odds of eventually being offered a coveted V12 hypercar, Ferrari has reportedly been steering serious buyers toward one specific purchase first. The Luce, the company's first fully electric model, priced at roughly $640,000, and by most collector accounts, a car almost nobody in that world actually wants. Buy the car you don't want. Maybe eventually earn the right to buy the one you do. Here's the number that makes this whole story make sense. Ferrari builds fewer than 14,000 cars a year, worldwide across every single model. In the first quarter of 2026 alone, they delivered just 3,436 vehicles, generating $1.85 billion in revenue at a 39% profit margin most automakers would consider fantasy. That's not a company struggling to keep up with demand. That's a company that has spent decades deliberately refusing to meet it. Ferrari's own revenue has climbed for 4 consecutive years while the number of cars it actually sells has stayed essentially flat. Not because they can't build more, because they've built an entire empire on the specific belief that not building more is the entire business model. In this case study, we're decoding exactly how that works. The man who convinced Wall Street that Ferrari wasn't a car company at all, the invisible scoring system that decides who's even allowed to buy one, the lawsuits Ferrari has filed against its own customers, and the controversial 2026 strategy that's testing exactly how far collectors will go to stay in Ferrari's good graces. This isn't a story about cars. It's the strategy behind the waiting list, the economics, the psychology, and the deliberate refusal to simply sell you what you want. Welcome to Empire Blueprint. This is the Ferrari illusion. To understand why Ferrari behaves the way it does today, you have to understand a decision made in a boardroom, not a design studio. When Sergio Marchionne spun Ferrari out of Fiat Chrysler as an independent, public company in 2015 and 2016, Wall Street analysts did what analysts do. They modeled it like a carmaker and priced it like one, comparing Ferrari's stock to General Motors and Ford instead of Chanel and Hermes. Marchionne told them, bluntly, that they had it wrong. Ferrari, in his framing, didn't belong in the same conversation as mass-market automakers at all. It belonged with the great luxury houses, companies that had already proven scarcity itself could be the product. What founder Enzo Ferrari had once enforced through sheer personal temperament, Marchionne committed to enforcing permanently as official company policy. The market took years to fully believe him. The stock has spent those same years proving he was right. The mechanism is almost deceptively simple. Ferrari maintains permanent excess demand, meaning there are always more buyers who want a car than there are cars available to sell them. That single condition means Ferrari never has to discount a vehicle, never carries unsold inventory sitting on a lot, and never has to cede pricing power to a customer who could simply walk to a competitor with more supply. Here's the part most business breakdowns miss. The waiting list itself isn't a symptom of Ferrari's popularity. It's the actual asset. the company protects, above almost everything else, arguably more carefully than any individual car model. And because the list captures value twice, once when a buyer is finally offered the base car they've waited years for, and again when that same buyer pays substantially more to personalize and customize it. Ferrari doesn't need to sell more cars to grow. It needs to keep selling the same number of cars to wealthier buyers willing to spend more on each one. So how does Ferrari actually decide who gets offered a car when demand permanently outstrips what they're willing to build? There's no public application, no posted criteria. What exists instead is an unwritten, relationship-based ranking system that insiders simply call the allocation list. Ferrari itself has confirmed in official statements that for its most sought-after limited editions, the company prioritizes clients with what it calls one collector car advisor described the psychology behind it almost perfectly. It works like a restaurant that's permanently fully booked. Show up consistently, spend consistently, and eventually the table appears. The more you buy from Ferrari over time, the more seriously they treat your next request. This is structurally identical to the mechanism we've seen at other ultra-luxury houses, most directly Hermes, where buyers are often expected to purchase less coveted accessories and jewelry before ever being offered a Birkin bag. Ferrari runs the same psychological engine, just with cars instead of handbags. Officially, Ferrari pushes back on the idea that this is transactional. In response to media inquiries, the company has stated that client selection is based on a genuine personal connection to a given model, not on whether a purchase improves a client's internal ranking, and that it does not encourage buyers to purchase a car solely to please Ferrari. But the lived experience, reported by collectors, tells a more complicated story. Whatever the official policy says, the practical reality, confirmed by Ferrari's own emphasis on relationship history, is that buyers who spend more consistently across more models are the ones who end up at the front of a list that has no official length, no official wait time, and no guarantee of ever actually reaching the front at all. Here's how seriously Ferrari treats the scarcity of its cars. In 2019, the company sued its own customers. Specific, limited edition Ferraris are sold with contractual, anti-flip clauses, legal language explicitly prohibiting the buyer from reselling the vehicle on the open market within a set period, sometimes multiple years after taking delivery. When a handful of buyers violated those clauses and immediately resold their allocated cars for a substantial profit, Ferrari didn't simply blacklist them from future purchases. The company took legal action. That single decision reveals something important about how Ferrari actually thinks about its own scarcity. This isn't a passive side effect of high demand and limited factory capacity. It's an actively managed, legally enforced system. One Ferrari is willing to spend real legal resources protecting, because a functioning secondary market flooded with quick flip resales would undermine the entire premise the waiting list is built on. If buyers could simply purchase a rare Ferrari and resell it within weeks for a profit, the car stops functioning as a reward for loyalty and starts functioning as a pure speculative asset available, in effect, to anyone with enough capital and patience, regardless of any relationship with the brand. The anti-flip clauses exist specifically to prevent that shift. They preserve the idea that a Ferrari allocation is earned through years of relationship building, not simply purchased and immediately liquidated. Behavioral economists studying cases like this one point to a well-documented effect. Scarcity increases perceived value most powerfully when it feels meaningful rather than obviously manufactured. A lawsuit against flippers sends an unmistakable signal to every other buyer on the list. This scarcity is real enough that Ferrari will go to court to protect it. That signal, more than almost anything else, is what keeps the waiting list itself desirable. Which brings us to the controversy that's actually breaking right now in 2026. Ferrari's first fully electric model, the Luce, launched to a genuinely divided reception among the brand's most dedicated collectors. Priced at roughly $640,000, reports from inside Maranello's collector circles describe a car many serious buyers simply don't want. It's an electric Grand Tourer, in a world where Ferrari's identity has always been built on the sound and drama of a screaming V12 engine. And yet, according to multiple reports in mid-2026, Ferrari has been quietly signaling to its wealthiest clients. Purchasing the Luce could meaningfully improve their position for future limited edition V12 models and Icona Special Series. These are the cars collectors actually came to Ferrari to buy in the first place. One industry analysis described the dynamic bluntly. The implication isn't that buyers genuinely want the Luce. It's that many may feel compelled to buy it anyway, purely to protect or improve their standing on lists for the cars they actually care about. Ferrari's official response has walked a careful line. The company maintains it doesn't encourage purchases made solely to please the brand. Simultaneously, they confirm that relationship history remains central to how allocation decisions get made. Whether that distinction holds up in practice is exactly what's dividing collector communities right now. There's a broader signal underneath the controversy too. Ferrari has navigated real 2026 headwinds, including Middle East delivery disruptions from regional instability and new U.S. tariffs on European imports. They managed this largely by reallocating limited supply toward markets with unconstrained demand, rather than discounting or slowing production elsewhere. Even under genuine external pressure, the company's instinct wasn't to loosen the scarcity model. It was to protect it, reroute around obstacles, and if the Luce reporting is accurate, even lean on that scarcity as leverage to move an unpopular new model. So what does a company that deliberately refuses to sell you what you want actually teach us about business? 3 lessons. Lesson 1. Scarcity is a decision, not a limitation. Ferrari could mechanically build more cars. The factories, the engineering talent, and the demand to absorb higher volume all exist. The company chooses not to, because the refusal itself has become more valuable than the additional revenue more units would generate. Lesson 2. Loyalty, once monetized, becomes the real product. A Ferrari allocation isn't really being sold for the sticker price on the car. It's being sold for years, sometimes decades, of accumulated relationship and prior spending. This is the same mechanism that makes a Hermes Birkin or a Rolex Daytona feel earned rather than simply purchased. Lesson 3. Protecting scarcity sometimes requires actively unpopular decisions. Suing customers who flip cars. Reportedly tying access to hypercars to an EV few collectors actually want. Both moves generate real backlash in the short term. And both exist specifically because Ferrari has calculated that protecting the integrity of the waiting list matters more than avoiding that backlash. Whether the Luce strategy ultimately damages Ferrari's relationship with its most loyal collectors, or simply becomes another chapter in a scarcity playbook that's compounded value for a decade, is still an open question in 2026. But the underlying philosophy hasn't changed since Marchionni first argued for it a decade ago. Ferrari isn't really selling cars. It's selling the right to be considered, and reserving the actual decision every time for itself. If this changed how you'll see the next Ferrari you spot on the road, subscribe to Empire Blueprint. We decode empires so you can build your own. One question before you go. Is this brilliant brand discipline, or has Ferrari finally pushed its scarcity game too far? Tell us below. This was Empire Blueprint.